All
Well,
right,
welcome, everybody. Should we get started? We could get started with a roll call.
absolutely. Hudson,
Here.
Sterner,
Here.
acknowledging that Councilmember Vento may be late. Wolf,
Here.
Zarin,
Present.
and Lindstrom.
Hello, hello.
Thank you.
You bet. And next up is, of course, the reading of the chair's statement, which is that the Met Council chair has determined it is not practical or prudent to conduct in-person meetings in response to COVID-19. Accordingly, committee members will participate in this meeting via telephone or other electronic means, and the meeting will be conducted under Minnesota statutes, section 13D.021. We encourage anybody out there to monitor this meeting remotely, and if you have comments, you can email those comments to public.info@met.state.mn.us, and they will be responded to in a timely manner. So with that, we can move on to the approval of the agenda, and without objection, the agenda is approved. That takes us to approval of the minutes from August 10th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Yeah, Chair Lindstrom, this is Sterner. I'd make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you.
Wolf seconds.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Hudson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
acknowledging Councilmember Vento has not joined us yet. Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
You bet. Nothing on the consent agenda for this afternoon, but we have two important items on the non-consent business agenda. And the first one is the Interceptor Chemical Odor Control System. Mr. Amos, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. Good afternoon. Today I'm presenting on business item 2021-230, Interceptor Chemical Odor Control System Contract 20P215A and 20P215B. Next slide, please. So a little bit of project summary. The Met Council Environmental Services currently has 16 operational chemical feed sites, which deliver bioxide or calcium nitrate solution into our interceptor system. And this is injected to manage odors and minimize corrosion in our infrastructure system. Our current service is provided using proprietary equipment, which has not fostered a competitive bidding environment. So this procurement secured the following items: a contract to design build the odor management systems, which include the chemical storage tank, dosing pumps, piping, monitoring equipment, etc., and services to supply, chemical, operate, and maintain the systems for 10 years with an option at the council's discretion for 2 5-year extensions. Next slide, please. So this is just an overview map of the 7-county metro area, kind of highlighting from a high-level view of where these 16 sites are that I previously mentioned. Most of them, as you can see on the left, are at lift stations, and the remaining 4 are at existing meter sites. Next slide, please. So the project schedule, we went through bid phase activities back in March, and we're at the contractor award process currently in August. We'll look to start construction on the design build portion of that come March of 22, with completion of construction in April of 2023, and the O&M contract starting in July of 2023. Next slide, please. So the proposal summaries, 2 proposals were received from prime contractors, and those 2 were Rice Lake Construction Group and Evoqua Water Technologies. So Rice Lake Construction Group, their proposal was deemed the most advantageous to the council, and the Office of Equal Opportunity set the Metropolitan Council underutilized business, or MCUB, goal at 13% of the design build construction contract. The contractor was determined to met the MCUB requirements of this procurement. Next slide, please. So the proposed action today is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the regional administrator to negotiate and execute 2 contracts simultaneously with Rice Lake Construction. Contract 20P215A for design build of an interceptor chemical odor control system in an amount not to exceed $6,629,950, and contract 20P215B for operations and maintenance services in an amount not to exceed $35,652,665. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation, and I can be available for any questions.
Any questions or comments? Councilmember Sterner.
Thank you, Chair Lindstrom. Yeah, my question would be is with the non-proprietary equipment, how much are we saving roughly percentage-wise or on an annual basis with this new contractors?
Mr. Chair, committee members, I might ask for some assistance from Mr. Johnson, also on the call, that if that number is readily available.
Mr. Johnson.
Hi, thanks, Chris. Thanks, council members. The benefits of the non-proprietary equipment is that any contractor would be able to use this equipment. A dollar amount, the O&M for the 10 years annually is roughly the same as what we're paying now, but it just gives us an overall, it's more advantageous that any contractor could use this, or even the Met Council in the future. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Janine. I saw you were trying to weigh in there as well. Did you have anything additional, Janine, that you wanted to say?
I would, and I think Mr. Johnson handled it quite well. But what this contract does, in addition to allow us to have a competitive bidding process, as the council may recall, we had a couple of sole source procurements, which we typically try not to do on an extensive period of time. And so this contract sets us up for a good operating period, sets us up with the right equipment. And then long term, in 10 years, we can evaluate and determine whether or not we want to take on this work ourselves, or if we want to propose another services contract, or if we want to extend the contract. And so this really sets us up in a good position ongoing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It's always good to have options, isn't it? Other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Wolf moves approval.
Thank you. In a second?
Fredson will second.
Excellent. Roll call, please.
Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to our second item on our non-consent agenda, which is the Metropolitan Wastewater Treatment Plant electrical renewal. Phase 3, another big project.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Tim Amstutz, and I am an assistant manager in plant engineering, one of the programs in wastewater planning and capital delivery. I will be presenting the business item 2021-231 called the Metropolitan Wastewater Treatment Plant Electrical Renewal Phase 3 Project 808916. Slide, please. Thank you. This project replaces electrical equipment that is near the end of service life in 13 electrical rooms throughout the plant. Overall, the work of this project expands and rehabilitates the main substation building, provides electrical upgrades in the compressor building, replaces motor control centers and unit substations, and lastly expands the Wi-Fi network. In the photograph, the substation building is located adjacent to the Excel substation, which is in the lower right-hand portion of the photograph. The substation building was constructed in the 1970s to replace the main switchgear in the compressor building, which had been the main power distribution center for the Metro Wastewater Treatment Plant. The substation is the primary building to distribute 13.8 kilovolt power throughout the plant and is configured with 4 buses, each connected to incoming power from Xcel Energy. This project expands the main substation building to the north and will include a new cable vault room, switchgear room, control room, and loading dock. We will replace the existing electrical gear with new 15 kilovolt switchgear lineups located in the expanded switchgear room. The existing substation building will then be renovated with new HVAC equipment, new storage room, and space for a generator bus. As I mentioned earlier, the compressor building was originally the main power distribution center until the late 1970s. Subsequent electrical improvements to the distribution since the 1970s have begun to shift loads away from the building. This project continues that goal by rerouting power conductors to simplify power distribution from 2 hubs to 1 hub, and that is the substation building. This project will also be removing 20 existing substations throughout the plant and replacing these units with 13 new substations. Similarly, we are removing 37 motor control centers and replacing with 24 new motor control centers and 20 panel and switchboards. Lastly, on previous projects, a Wi-Fi network was installed and commissioned. This project expands the Wi-Fi network by installing additional access points. Next slide, please. The invitation for bid was advertised on April 28th, 2021. Procurement facilitated a public bid opening on July 29th, 2021, and 2 bids were received. Total Construction and Equipment Incorporated's bid was in the amount of $47,100,000. This project is financed by a loan from the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority and has a disadvantaged business participation goal of 4%. The Office of Equal Opportunity determined that Total Construction and Equipment has met the DBE requirements. Total Construction and Equipment Incorporated is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Next slide, please. The proposed action asked for today is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the regional administrator to award and execute contract 21P087 with Total Construction and Equipment Incorporated for construction of the Metropolitan Wastewater Treatment Plant Electrical Renewal Phase 3 Project 808916 in an amount not to exceed $47,100,000. Next slide, please. This concludes my presentation. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to entertain any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation. Any questions? Councilmember Zirin, you are our local electrical expert. Does this pass muster for you, or do you have any questions?
Nope, we're gonna take out some 13.8, put some new 13.8 in. Here we're gonna create a much more reliable system. We're gonna rip out a bunch of outdated stuff, put in some modern stuff. Total's a good contractor. I think we'll have a good project with this. Thumbs up from council members here.
Perfect. Other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Wolf moves approval.
And a second?
Zarin will second.
Excellent. Roll call.
Hudson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And that takes us to our information part of our agenda, where we have Ms. Clancy talking about the 2022 capital program. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and council members. Again, my name is Janine Clancy. I'm the Assistant General Manager for Wastewater Planning and Capital Project Delivery. And the presentation this evening is the proposed 6-year 2022 through 2027 capital program and the 2022 Environmental Services capital budget. This program and budget will be incorporated into the council's proposed 2022 unified budget that is scheduled to go out for public comment this fall and adopted by the council in December. Next slide. Staff members who are presenting the ES Capital Program this afternoon are key to our efforts in planning, designing, constructing, and commissioning the regional wastewater system. You will hear from Kyle Colvin, who is the Manager of Wastewater System Planning and Community Programs, and Kyle will speak about the wastewater system planning. Kyle and his team, including Corey McCullough and Jennifer Lee, are critical to organizing and coordinating all aspects of the capital program. Next, Renee Heflin, Manager of Plant Engineering, will provide an overview of key programs proposed for the wastewater treatment plants. And Renee will be followed by Adam Gordon, Manager of Interceptor Engineering, who will share a sample of some of the projects and programs that we have identified in the interceptor system. And then we'll wrap it up with next steps and an opportunity for questions. Next slide. Mr. Chair and committee members, we frequently refer to our customer level of service and our water resources policy plan. We see these documents as foundational in the development of the ES Capital Program. We serve 110 customer communities, all of whom have unique viewpoints on how they want to manage the services that they provide to their residents. In our organization, we respect local perspective as we prioritize the needs of our wastewater system in the region. Guidance provided through the Water Resources Policy Plan, the Wastewater System Plan, and our customer level of service is critical to our orderly approach in which we make our investments. The capital program is designed to be fiscally responsible, includes projects and programs which protect human health and the environment, provides capacity for growth, coordinates with other agencies to optimize infrastructure investments, and demonstrates leadership in environmental sustainability. Next slide. The capital budget, this slide is just to remind us all of some terms that you will hear throughout the program or throughout the presentation. The Authorized Capital Program, or the ACP, is the multi-year authorization for project spending where funding sources have been identified. Adjustments made to the ACP include additions of budget adjustments to existing projects, addition of new projects, and the subtraction or deletion of projects that have been closed. The capital budget is the amount from the authorized capital program that council approves to be spent in the upcoming year. And of course, that does not mean that these projects don't come back to the council, because most of our capital projects are over the threshold that require council action. And then the Capital Improvement Program, or the CIP, is the capital investment plan where funding sources have been identified, but projects have not been authorized to proceed. Next. This slide shows historical and projected spending. The 2021 approved capital budget is $185 million. Now, typically we spend about 80% of the approved budget, and that's what our typical plan is. At this time, we anticipate that, that we will spend between $120 and $130 million in 2021, and the underrun is related to cost underruns, project delays related to equipment acquisitions, contractor resources and availability, staffing resources, and coordination with other entities. The committee will see that we propose an increase for our project projected spending in years 2022 through 2027. And the reason for this is that we have some very large capital projects in our portfolio. And those include the 4th incinerator at the Metro plant, relocation of the Hastings wastewater treatment plant, the construction of the Crow River plant, so moving the plant from Rogers to a new site in Rogers along the Crow River, construction of L32A, or lift station L32A in Fridley, and capacity improvements needed in the interceptor system, including the St. Bonifacius Force Main and Lake Elmo. Next. To summarize the authorized capital program recommended changes, first of all, the current 2021 authorized capital program is $1,032 million approximately. We have an addition of about $154 million to reflect reflect adjustments to existing projects. We also have an addition of about $64 million for new projects, and we have about 25 new projects identified in this program. And then we reduce or subtract about $146 million from the ACP to recognize completed projects. And we have completed about 36 projects this last year, and we've moved those out of the 6-year ACP. And this equates to a 2022 authorized capital program request of $1,104,552,525. Next. The capital program consists of projects that have 3 objectives. First is asset preservation. Asset preservation works to maintain the performance and value of our existing assets, and this represents 62% of our planned investments. Secondly, we have capacity improvements. Capacity improvements are needed because we are in a thriving and growing region, and so we need to extend facilities and add capacity to our system in order to facilitate growth. And this represents about 15% of our planned investments. And then finally, we have drivers that include improvement of quality of service by responding to more stringent regulations, implementing wastewater reuse projects at our wastewater treatment plants, increasing system reliability, and conserving or generating energy. And this represents 22% of our planned investments. And then finally, our projects are broken down between plants and interceptors, and we project to spend about 55% in our treatment plants and about 45% in our interceptor system. Next. So in summary, the proposed 2022 through 2027 capital program totals $1,693,000,000 of which $1,104 million is in the capital program and $589 million is in the capital improvement program. The proposed capital budget is the proposed 2022 capital budget is $227 million. And all of this will be incorporated, or is recommended to be incorporated, in the council's unified capital budget. Next. And we finance our program through three sources. First, on the left is loans from the Public Facilities Authority. We currently are utilizing proceeds of a $50 million loan that we received from the Public Facilities Authority that was at an interest rate of 1%. And we anticipate applying for an additional loan this fall, and we are qualified to do so. We are in the process of we've already submitted our projects for the intended use plan, and we anticipate the intended use plan will be approved by the Public Facilities Authority in September 30th. The second financing source is council general obligation bonds. In 2020, the council received 1.65% interest rate for an $80 million bond issue for ES work. And then finally, we pay out of our operating funds, or PAYGO, about $11 million each year, and we anticipate doing so in 2022. Funding to retire the debt for ES projects is from the municipal wastewater charge and the sewer availability charge. And with that, I'll turn it over to Renee Heflin, who will, I'll turn it over to Kyle Colvin, who will talk about wastewater system planning. Thank you.
I'm here today to cover the statutory authorities that the council has as it pertains to the review of local community comprehensive plans and how those plans can identify project needs in the capital program. I will also provide an example of a project that was included in the 2022 capital program as a result of the comprehensive planning process. It's important to note that there were a few projects that were added to last year's 2021 capital program that came out of the comprehensive plan review process. It's also important to note that those projects still remain in the 2022 to 2027 capital program. Next slide, please. Local communities, as you know, are required by statute to submit comprehensive plan updates every 10 years. Minnesota Statute 473 authorizes the council to review these comprehensive plan updates and subsequent amendments to determine their compatibility with other adjoining community plans and for conformity with the metropolitan system plans. Regarding a community's wastewater plan, the council checks the plan against the regional wastewater system plan to confirm that it conforms to regional wastewater policies and that the timing and level of service that's reflected in the plan can be accommodated by the regional wastewater system. If a local plan is found to be inconsistent with the system plan, meaning that it may negatively impact the system, or if the plan reflects a substantial departure with the regional plan, the community must modify that plan or their plan. The council also has review and comment authority and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's permitting process that local communities are required to go through for the construction or alteration of sewers. The council uses this process to include a review for consistency with the proposed sewer that the proposed sewer has with the local plan and with the regional system plan. If the local plan identifies the need for a service that is not currently provided through the existing regional system, but is consistent with the regional plan, a project is added to the capital program to include capacity timed to coincide with the local needs as expressed in their comprehensive plan. The proposed capital program includes, as I mentioned earlier, a few projects that fall under this category. Next slide. Today, I'll be providing one example of a project that is being included in the 2022 capital program. and that is that the current wastewater system plan identifies a future wastewater treatment facility in western Scott County. The county included land use guiding in its 2030 plan that limits development at low densities, meaning 1 unit per 10 acres or lower, that preserves it for future redevelopment utilizing regional wastewater service. The system plan identified 2 potential sites from an initial review of 6 sites in western Scott County. The council recently submitted an offer on one of these 2 sites. The future facility will have a long-term capacity of at least 25 million gallons per day. A facility of this size will not only provide service to the areas of western Scott County in the future that will require regional wastewater service, but it will also offer the ability to serve portions of eastern Carver County by diverting flow away from the Blue Lake service area and redirecting it to the new Scott County wastewater treatment plant. This will free up capacity at Blue Lake to accommodate additional growth within its service area. I'll now turn it over to Renee to review some of the treatment plant projects in the 2022 capital program. Next slide.
Thank you, Kyle, and good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Environment Committee members. I'm going to provide an overview of some of the wastewater treatment plant projects in the capital program, including Metro, Empire, Hastings, Crow River, and Blue Lake. Next. We have been constructing rehabilitation and renewal projects at the Metro plant for the last 10 years under a facility plan called Metro Plant Rehabilitation and Facilities Improvements. When the plan was approved by the council in 2009, the budgetary cost estimate for the projects at that time was $100 million. We are continuing asset preservation work for the next 10 years under a new facility plan called Metro Plant Asset Renewal. And this plan was approved by the council in 2015. And the budgetary cost estimate for this group of projects or project collection is $140 million. So the projects shown here, which are from both facility plans, are the ones that will be constructed in the next 5 years. Solids renewal at SMB, that's one that is currently under construction. The project renews air distribution systems for the existing incinerators and expands our backup sludge loadout so that we can sustain reliable solids processing. Secondary treatment renewal is also under construction at the plant. This project will replace aeration diffusers, intake piping, and aeration control valves for all 16 aeration tanks. The estimated energy cost savings resulting from this project alone is $400,000 annually. Tim talked about the electrical distribution renewal phase 3 in a request for your for approval and award of the project. And the last one shown here, the services building project will construct 2 buildings adjacent to the existing analytical laboratory at the Metro plant to provide space for MCS employees who currently office in temporary trailers, either that or lease space. This project will be constructed using design build delivery method. And we recently pre-qualified 3 design build teams, and the request for proposals will be issued to those teams next month. Next. This slide is just an overview of the Metro Plant Electrical Renewal Program. Phase 1 is complete. It rehabilitated motor control centers, installed Wi-Fi network at the Metro plant, and upgraded transformers at the compressor building. And phase 2, that's an ongoing project to rehabilitate the motors for 7 very large compressors at the plant that supply air for process treatment. It's a combination of 300 horsepower and 3,000 horsepower and 5,500 horsepower motors. As Tim Amseth covered earlier, Phase 3 continues the renewal of electrical equipment and includes expansion and improvement of the primary substation. And throughout this program, we're incorporating arc flash labeling and mitigation measures so that we reduce the risk of electrical injury to whether it's maintaining, operating equipment or others nearby. Next. A third active facility plan for the Metro plant, which was approved by the council in 2019. It's called the Metro Solids Management Improvements. And this plan provides for installation of a fourth incinerator at the plant, followed by another renewal of the existing 3 incinerators. The existing incinerators, they need a more extensive renewal than we've been able to complete due to process constraints. And the renewal work will require that each incinerator be taken out of service for about a year. The fourth incinerator will be constructed 2024 through 2026 using design build delivery. And then the renewal work will be constructed 2027 through 2029 using design bid build delivery. The fourth incinerator will provide solids treatment capacity needed to complete the renewal work, and it will also serve regional population growth through 2050. Between the 2020 and 2050, there are 500,000 new residents expected in the Metro plant service area. Next. There's a solids program at the Empire Wastewater Treatment Plant, and that program is to increase solids treatment capacity, preserve assets, and improve performance. It consists of 2 phases. Construction of Phase 1 is half complete, and Phase 1 improvements include addition of a cover for the biosolids storage pad, reconstruction of the entrance road, replacement of the boiler system, and addition of part of the digester gas treatment facilities needed to produce electricity from the digester gas. Phase 2 improvements include the addition of the remainder of the gas treatment facilities, modifications to the existing digesters to increase capacity, that's treatment capacity, and addition of a new combined heat and power engine, or CHP, and that's the final step that will convert the digester gas to electricity. The net energy cost savings of a CHP, and that includes the heat and electrical cost savings, the net is $216,000 annually for the Empire plant. And construction of Phase 2 will begin later this year or early next year. Next. Janine mentioned 2 new wastewater treatment plants in our current capital program, and I want to talk about Hastings first. The Hastings wastewater treatment plant service area is expected to increase from 23,000 to 29,000 residents in 2040. The existing plant site in downtown Hastings is in close proximity to a residential area, and that presents challenges for expansion as well as major renewal work and additional treatment if it's required in future permits would be very, very difficult. We've been planning to relocate the wastewater treatment service for Hastings for a long time, and MCS purchased new treatment plant site in 2005, and the site is 221 acres north of Ravenna Trail and south of the Vermilion River. It's shown here on the bottom portion of the slide. The new site can support facilities needed to treat 10 million gallons per day of wastewater from the long-term service area, and that's as identified in the 2040 Water Resources Policy Plan. We completed a condition assessment of the existing plant in 2020, and we identified $26 million of major renewal work needed for continued services through 2040. So rather than invest further at the existing site, we propose to relocate Hastings service to the new plant site by 2026. We will complete we'll need to complete a modest renewal project to keep the existing facility operating reliably for at least 10 years through commissioning of the new plant. We'll complete the draft facility plan for the new plant by the end of the year. We're proposing that we will construct the new plant using design build delivery, and the facility plan will include a new lift station and interceptor that will be constructed using design bid build. Next. With the acquisition of Rogers, the Rogers wastewater treatment facility in 2019, the regional wastewater system increased from 8 to 9 wastewater treatment plants. And the location of the Rogers, the existing wastewater treatment facility, is the blue icon on this map. To address future capacity needs and new regulatory requirements, a new Crow River wastewater treatment plant will be needed, and we plan for it to be constructed and commissioned before 2030. The Crow River wastewater treatment plant is the orange icon on the map, and the new plant will offload some flow from the Elm Creek interceptor and thereby recover capacity for urban growth. And upon completion of commissioning for the new plant and the collection system, the Rogers wastewater treatment facility will be decommissioned, and the property, with the exception of a portion needed for a lift station, that will be returned to the city of Rogers. In the meantime, we have a project currently under construction to modify the Rogers plant for MCS operations. And just real quickly, the modifications that we're doing now include things like a perimeter security, a process control system, a permanent backup power generator, and office and locker room additions to an existing control building. Also, we're completing planning evaluations for the new Crow River plant, and our efforts have focused on gathering water quality data on the Crow River, evaluating capacity of the Elm Creek interceptor. That's out of Adam Gordon's group, and you'll be hearing from him next. We're working together on the planning for the new Crow River plant. We've also completed environmental studies and working on collection system routing. And our goal is to complete the facility planning for the new Crow River plant by the end of 2023. Next. The Blue Lake wastewater treatment plant. So at the Blue Lake wastewater treatment plant, we have a plan. You know, it was approved by the council earlier this year. We have a facility plan that we recommend spending, proposed to spend $413 million in capital improvements over the next 20 years. And these recommended improvements are needed to expand capacity, preserve assets, and improve performance. So this one checks all 3 boxes as well. In the next NPDES permit cycle, the Blue Lake wastewater treatment plant, they'll be required to meet an effluent total phosphorus limit of 0.3, a fraction of 1, 0.3 milligrams per liter, and that's the lowest limit of any of our MCS wastewater treatment plants. And as shown here, the facility plan recommends 3 phases of construction. So phase 1 work, this was put on a time scale. Phase 1 work includes all work that needs to be completed within 10 years to meet customer level of service objectives. And those include modifications of the aeration tanks to optimize, phosphorus removal, the addition of 2 secondary clarifiers, addition of 1 digester, and a major renewal of final stabilization facilities, or I just say FSF is what we call that, but those are the facilities, FSF, that treat and pelletize wastewater solids into a fertilizer. Phase 2 improvements are modifications that we can defer for 10 years. It includes 2 new primary clarifiers and tertiary filters. And the tertiary filters, that's what enable the plant to meet the 0.3 milligrams per liter effluent phosphorus limit. And then finally, phase 3 improvements are those things that we can defer for 15 years. And the facility plan, it provides budget to add an aeration tank, expand effluent pumping, renew the digester complex, because we can anticipate renewals, periodic renewals. And it also includes renewal of thickening and dewatering equipment. Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Adam, and I think he will present overviews for the interceptor engineering. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee, and committee members. This is Adam Gordon. I'm the manager of the Interceptor Engineering Group. I'd like to present to you a selection of projects that are part of the capital improvement program. And these projects address capacity needs, condition issues, or they advance coordination with other entities. Go to the next slide. Our slide here for Lake Elmo Southwest connection. In response to anticipated growth within the city of Lake Elmo, the city is taking steps to upgrade a local city lift station. And MCS needs to upgrade the capacity, to upsize the capacity of the connection that this local station discharges to. The plan is to build a new gravity sewer within the city of Oakdale, paralleling the north side of I-94, along the north side, between I-694 and approximately Inwood Avenue North. The new gravity sewer will provide long-term and reliable service to the cities of Oakdale and Lake Elmo. And it's important to note that this project is also being coordinated with the upcoming Metro Gold Line construction. Next slide. The condition assessments that we complete every year have included the lift station L66 in Savage. And those condition assessments revealed several issues that need to be corrected to provide reliable service and ensure safety of our operations and maintenance staff. The deterioration in the wet well is significant. And you can see here in the picture in the upper right-hand corner has deteriorated the supports that support the grading, and certainly improving, rehabbing the wet well to get rid of the corroded concrete, rebuild those concrete surfaces back up, and coat them to protect them from the H2S corrosion that occurs there, as well as improving the HVAC to increase the ventilation will ensure the safety of our operations and maintenance staff. And the lift station also requires upsizing the pumps and the piping in order to meet future capacity needs. Next slide. The Bloomington siphon, known as Interceptor 7031 and 9003, crosses the Minnesota River and discharges to a siphon structure in Egan. It discharges into Interceptor 7033 that eventually conveys flow to the Seneca wastewater treatment plant. The same siphon structure is also the discharge point for the L13 force main that services both Burnsville and Savage. The wastewater at this location is very anoxic and has caused a lot of odors, and it has resulted in corrosion of those structures. The structures need to be rehabilitated to maintain reliable service into the future. Next slide. The Regional Maintenance Facility Expansion Project has entered the final stages of design and is planned to be advertised this fall. The improvements will allow for the officing of air quality department, the air quality laboratory, and construction field services staff that are assigned to the western regions. The improvements will include an upgraded dispatch center, additional locker room space in the women's locker room, and an upgraded HVAC system for the entire building. And we're anticipating going to construction in 2022 with this project. Next slide. The Highway 13 coordination, Force Main MnDOT coordination. MnDOT is planning major improvements to Highway 13 through Burnsville and Savage in 2022, including lane expansions and grade divided interchanges. The L66 Force Main, which we just heard about, L66 lift station itself, the Force Main crosses the highway near Yosemite Avenue. And a new crossing will likely relocate, or the new, to reduce conflicts with the highway development, will relocate the force main into the southern frontage road to minimize conflicts, and a new crossing and new pipe casings will be placed underneath the travel lanes to provide long-term access to the force mains and better protection of those force mains. Next slide. The Long Lake Rehabilitation Project provides for the installation of CIPP, or what we call cured in place pipe, along the 2-NB-100 interceptor in the city of New Brighton. Sections of this interceptor upstream were previously lined, but this section is also in poor condition and requires lining to maintain reliable service. The work has been coordinated with additional local sanitary sewer rehabilitation needs that are being completed under a construction cooperation agreement with the city of New Brighton. And we're anticipating construction in 2022. And the next slide, and with that, I'll turn it back over to Janine to discuss the schedule.
Thank you, Adam, and thanks Renee and Kyle also for your presentation. So, Mr. Chair and council members, before you see the schedule, and as you can see in May, our finance director, Ned Smith, presented budget concepts to you. Our capital program is presented tonight, and then as we move forward into the fall, there's division level capital program presentations in October, with adoption of public comments on the draft budgets in October 2021. And then finally, the adoption of the final 2022 budget levies, excuse me, is scheduled for December of 2021. And with that, that concludes our presentation. And if you have questions for any of the presenters tonight, we're available. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to all of the presenters this afternoon. Any questions from the committee members?
Chair,
Councilmember Sterner.
yes, I just had kind of a question. I want to say great presentation. I really like the great knowledge and trying to really understand it. But one of my questions is that we have a great track record in monitoring in our plants. So when we redo like a Rogers or a Hastings plant, do we start over with a brand new plant with their record, or do they keep, since it's a replacement, same plant, do they keep their longevity of their perfect monitoring going forward?
Great question.
I can answer that. It's connected to our permit for a facility. So whatever that permit continuity is would be the record ongoing. And if we miss, then we'll have a break in our record, but we'll still have a long record. For example, with Hastings, we still keep a plaque that says each year that we add. So if they have to start over, which we hate to have to experience, they'll still have a reminder that they did have a really outstanding record. But we've had pretty good luck with our transitions to new facilities, and we hope to pay close attention to that.
Great. All right. Thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, Rolling Stone gathers no moss, right? Like, holy cow. Between the lift stations and the force mains and the 2 new treatment plants and the 4th incinerator and all the different renewal projects and new facilities and cured in place and all that good stuff. The good thing about this committee is that we hear about these projects, at least it's good for me. I hear about them more than once, so it kind of sinks in after a while. So I appreciate that. Any other comments or questions? Oh, yeah, Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank staff for a great presentation. We've, for many years, said we value the long-term look and making sure we keep up on maintenance and everything, and that's what you guys are doing in your capital plan, which is great. And I would also note that the Hastings plant originally was going to be constructed quite some time ago. As they mentioned, the land was bought in 2005. But with the slowdown during the recession back in the late aughts, or whatever you call it, pushed that date back. So now it's approaching again, and we're preparing for it. But this has been something that's been on my radar for a very, very long time. Being able to push it back because the projections for development went down allowed us to save some money during a time when we needed to prioritize some maintenance projects instead and keep the rates, not going up too fast for our customers. But just want to thank the staff for great work as always.
Absolutely. And along similar lines, keep us in the loop on the Scott County. Did I hear correctly that we have an offer in for some land in Scott County? So that's pretty exciting. Another big project that'll be a decade or 2 in the making. Great. So if there's nothing else, then that takes us up to the general manager's report. Lisa.
Thank you. I do not have a report tonight, but Wendy's comments reminded me that we have a much better situations to face with Hastings building a new plant on a separate site than we did with Eagles Point when we were in that very small land area trying to remodel and rebuild while we still operated. And that was quite a feat that we pulled off. So it's going to seem a lot easier to build the new Hastings plant while we're, dealing with 2 separate sites. So staff will appreciate that.
No question about it. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great afternoon.
Bye.